I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, August the 9th. And you know, just over the weekend, we had a really good feeling about this market, your fat cattle market especially, as your packers came in late on Friday and paid the most that they had paid all week, which was $1.18 for some fats on really a cleanup trade, where it pretty much had established itself at $1.17 earlier in the week. And then they didn't, Packers didn't get maybe as many cattle as they quite needed to make a full week on a negotiated basis there, so we thought maybe they'd be coming in this week, earlier in the week, buying some cattle at least steady money. And then all these rumors started swirling about, well, maybe we're not getting through the big heavy numbers of market ready cattle right now. Maybe they're not going to come until later, you know, when the fall starts and all this stuff. And traders got a hold of that, and people kind of got spooked, and then the board was down really hard, almost the limit on a Monday, starting things out. And then you had a few people start puking some fats from 115 to 116 live, and 182 all the way down to 182 up to 186 on a dress basis. Not a lot of cattle, not enough to establish a market, but you know, 6,600 head in the 5-area feeding region, almost entirely in Iowa. Now, we don't want the people in Iowa, which I'm a former Missourian, we don't want the Iowegians setting the pace here. They're the same guys that have been given these outrageous prices for these big yearlings to feed up in the northern plains. So I really don't think that we've got another wall of cattle to get through after we get through these heavy numbers here at the end of the summer. If you think those cattle would have had to have been put on there at the same time that they were buying all those cattle up to put them on grass. Not that they weren't gaining weight on grass, but they're not gaining it as fast as what they would being shut up and put a concentrated ration together. They were getting a real cheap gain, albeit a little bit slower on grass. And I do agree, once we get to the new year, when this fall calf run, the bigger calves on it start hitting the market, coming out the other end there in January, and right after the first of the year there, I think we're going to have a problem getting through all those cattle. But I don't really see where all those cattle would have come from that they were going to have a problem swallowing come October. You know, we've got a great demand for beef right now. The harvest pace has been awesome. This week, it might be the biggest week so far in recent memory, because the Monday and Tuesday has been gigantic, and they just keep going through and slaughtering these cattle. They keep selling this meat. We finally found a bottom on our cutout values. Our exports are pretty good. I think we don't have that much to worry about, and there's no need to really start fretting about something that we don't have a big idea about right now. I know the June placements shocked everybody. Well, those cattle, the biggest shocker was on the lighter end of those cattle, so they're not going to be ready in that time. So I don't think there's a big worry there. Now, you know, I could be wrong, and who knows, but the board has sure been suffering so far this week. And even though it is, your feeder market has pretty much ignored it, because there's still a lot of demand for yearlings. We've still got farmer feeder demand for a few more weeks till we start getting into harvest, or grazing time before harvest is when that's going to shut down. But that's picking up a lot of those cattle in the northern plains, and in turn it's pulling all the demand for big yearlings up all the way down in the southern plains. But good demand for calves. We keep selling those right along, and contracting those for fall. And really, we shouldn't start worrying about something just because there's nothing to worry about. The biggest thing maybe we should worry about this week is that big supply and demand report that USDA is coming out on the grains on Thursday. If that should crank the grains up quite a bit, which we're not really thinking so, because South America has had a huge crop, and that should pretty much offset any kind of a crop shortage or yield shortage that might come up here because we had some dry regions there in the western part of the Corn Belt. But that all eyes should be on that, not on something that somebody was rumoring about that probably didn't really know what they were talking about. But you look at your RTI, your real-time index for a feeder cattle market, late on Tuesday was sitting at 148.73, which is just about where it ended the week last week. It was down about 12 cents on Monday, up about 12 cents on Tuesday, so things rocking right along and starting to sell quite a few yearlings again. You look at some markets that happened there on Tuesday at the Western Video Market, which you can view and bid on DV Auction now. Every market that Western Video Market has, but they're in Little America, Cheyenne, Wyoming. Monday and Tuesday, that sale's wrapped up now. Had an awfully good sale there, but one that I picked out on Tuesday's offering, which was pretty impressive, the IOU Ranch, which is a great name for a ranch up north of Miles City, Montana, had a sale of 250 head of steers right off the cow, steer calves, 400 pounders, coming at $2.22. So that's a pretty good market. They had some awfully good sales on that Western Video Market, and again, anytime you see Western Videos having a sale, you can go right on to dvauction.com, view right there. You can register and bid right there, or you can go to westernvideomarket.com and get to the DV Auction bidding console that way. But some other sales that happened on Tuesday, OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma, around 1,200 head for the calf sale. Actually called a trend this week, which is unusual since they had less than 1,500 or 2,000. But Market News called it firm to $4 higher, and looking at some of those prices, sure sold well. West Plains, Missouri, Ozarks Regional Stockyard. A lot of people don't know of that sale, don't realize they get the cattle that they get. On a mid-August there, Tuesday, they had 4,300 head of cattle coming mostly from southern Missouri, northern Arkansas. But still a lot of good kind of cattle, the kind of cattle that they really like in southwest Kansas, places like that, to both turn out and feed. But the cattle there, all classes selling from steady to $3 higher, and Dan did note that they had better quality this Tuesday than they've had in recent weeks, so awfully good sale there. Look at a quote, individual quote on the calf sale at El Reno, Oklahoma. Now listen up here. At 11 o'clock Tuesday morning, they sold 84 head of 490 pound steer calves, bring $1.90. That's getting off close to 500 pounds, guys, and that's a very good price. Quote from the Northern Plains there, at 3 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, the Imperial Nebraska auction market there sold 322 head of steers, weighing 833 at $154.35. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.